For the most part, the psychic being has no need for all the myriad details of any particular lifetime in its evolutionary progression. It distills the essence of all the experiences to build up its development and increasing complexity as it masters each successive plane of energy and experience. That is not to say that these details are not available in some form. It is also not to set a fixed rule that prevents a particular psychic being from carrying forward specific knowledge or capacities into a future lifetime, if it can utilize them as developed powers. The scientific theory of relativity, and indeed any study of astronomy, makes it clear that energy, as it traverses space-time, represents events that occurred in the far distant past as being present to our experience now. The light we see shining from the distant stars began its journey across space as much as 13.5 billion years ago. What is present for us now is past for the star system that emitted that light. In fact, those stars may no longer exist today, but it may take us billions of years to find that out. Quantum mechanics describes the phenomenon of quantum entanglement, where two objects, separated by immense distances, respond instantly to one another without any known physical contact or method of communication through light, sound, or form. This implies that consciousness is one and universal, and that energy or thought forms released by one being in one place may very well be accessible to another being in another place. This brings us to the question of the Akashic record. Spiritual and psychological researchers have long claimed that there is a repository of all facts, events, and knowledge that, under certain circumstances, can be accessed and opened up for insight to particular circumstances, events, powers, knowledge, etc. Theosophy and the famous seer Edgar Cayce describe the Akashic records, and means for coming into contact with this information repository have been developed through the ages. In the quantum relativistic universe, it is clear that the past lives on and could potentially be accessed, and likewise, the future represents the present or past in some other space-time segment of the universe. In a similar light, Deepak Chopra once told a story about how he, as a doctor trained in Western medicine and Ayurveda, was visiting his birthplace in India and was visiting with his family. He was advised to go to a particular Vedic astrologer who was well known and respected, which he did, although he did not have much conviction. The astrologer, when he met him, advised that he had been expecting him. He then identified and pulled out a scroll and started reciting for Dr. Chopra facts from his life which could not have been known to him through any public record, and gave him some indications about certain things in his future. Others have reported entering into a dreamlike state, or perhaps a trance state, and there visiting what appeared to be a huge library with sections, scrolls, and books. One individual reported making decisions later in life based on beings and information he experienced in such a state. If we put aside the exceptional incidents of using past life memory or developed capacities to advance in the present lifetime, we are left with the more usual circumstance that the psychic being brings the essence, a summary, a top-line evaluation from prior experience, and dispenses with the details which otherwise would simply act as clutter in the new life. Sri Aurobindo notes, quote, "Another thing, it is not the personality, the character, that is of the first importance in rebirth. It is the psychic being who stands behind the evolution of the nature and evolves with it. The psychic, when it departs from the body, shedding even the mental and vital on the way to its resting place, carries with it the heart of its experiences, not the physical events, not the vital movements, not the mental buildings, not the capacities or characters, but something essential that it gathered from them, what might be called the divine element for the sake of which the rest existed. That is the permanent addition. It is that helps in the growth towards the divine. That is why there is usually no memory of the outward events and circumstances of past lives. For this memory, there must be a strong development towards unbroken continuance of the mind, the vital, even the subtle physical. For though it all remains in a kind of seed memory, it does not ordinarily emerge. What was the divine element in the magnanimity of the warrior, that which expressed itself in his loyalty, nobility, high courage? What was the divine element behind the harmonious mentality and generous vitality of the poet, and expressed itself in them? That remains, and in a new harmony of character may find a new expression, or, if the life is turned towards the divine, be taken up as powers for the realization or for the work that has to be done for the divine. End quote. Reference: Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, The Psychic Being, Soul, Its Nature, Mission, and Evolution, Section 4, The Afterlife and Rebirth, pages 134 to 135.